I'm going to call this meeting to order, and first item of business I have to add to the warrants. The Cemetery Fund CF1. It's for the amount of $535 for mowing the cemeteries. And with that, we'll go on to the minutes. We have minutes from June 3rd, June 24th, and July 2nd.
I would move approval of the minutes of June 3, June 24, and July 2nd.
Okay.
Second that motion.
Good. Any discussion? We see the minutes for June 3rd and here, but
Are they in there?
just June 3rd that I can see.
Wasn't there another, they were in another folder. They were in
Another red folder? Okay. All right. Great.
See, I didn't review. If you'd have reviewed a few minutes ago.
I remember.
No, they weren't in there when he did his review.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's see. Then we go on for bills for payment. We need to ratify warrant 27. That was the one that you authorized me to sign on, when was it?
June 30th.
June 30th, the end of the fiscal year. Then we have warrant 1, the payroll, warrant 1P, and the recreation board. And CF1.
So I'll move we approve for payment and ratify warrant 27, warrant 1, 1P, rec board number 1, and cemetery fund 1.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Just for the viewers at home, warrant 1, there's the monthly sheriff's fee, dues to Vermont League of Cities and Towns. We have the insurance premium that we have through Vermont League of Cities and Towns, $11,371. Electric bills, lawn mowing, copier lease, payroll transfers, and legal notices for the listers. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then, Sheriff Keith Clark. We have a new contract. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for giving me the call. I know my contract caught town of Dummerston off guard like it caught all the other towns.
All the other towns, right.
And in fact, you're not the last town to meet with me. I meet with Marlborough tomorrow and I think Stratton on Monday. So I was surprised when I started preparing the contract and I looked at the numbers at where my increases have been were higher than I had anticipated last fall. And so those costs have to be passed on. But I am telling other towns if I can find savings anywhere, I will amend the contract downward, but certainly not upward. For example, we just learned that our retirement rate went down. However, it did not go down significantly. It went from 10.62% down to 10.42%. So you're looking at less than 0.02%. But you know, we constantly look at ways that we can save money, and I've always tried to keep my costs low and pass those low costs on to the town. However, this year it's not looking hopeful, and that's why you saw the increase that you saw in the proposed contract.
Any questions?
Well, I've been reading about the coverage in the local papers, and I'm wondering if you think the coverage has been accurate.
Been accurate in
Accurate in terms of its reporting, from your meeting with other towns.
Yes, in fact, it was when I met with this board, that while we were sitting right here, that we found a glitch in the software that we had to adjust it. It was kind of interesting because until we sat here and talked to him, and Lieutenant Anderson was here, but what are you talking about? We're not getting accurate numbers, but the numbers we now have are accurate. But I cannot tell you, because I haven't run the final quarter, is what tickets were written in the last month or 2 months, and what your final financial recoupment from those tickets would be. That I don't know. I have not run those numbers yet. We have not closed out the end of the year. You probably have a better understanding of what you've received for traffic fines than I would have. I can tell you what, we can normally tell you what we wrote for tickets, but what ultimately comes through the judicial bureau, we have no control over.
So, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, the proposed increase is certainly understandable under the circumstances. I guess probably the lesson you already learned is that, we are working on our budgets, at the early part of the year. So in subsequent years, if you could let us know so that we could plug those into our numbers before we take them to the town, of course.
And that is what I will do. And I did that with a couple of towns last fall, the ones that have larger full-time contracts. Presented that to them in writing. In fact, I'll take a loss on those this year because, again, the insurance costs and some other cost factors came in after I sent those letters. But I signed a letter saying this is what your rate will be, but I did not do that with the smaller towns, and that's where we are. But again, we are still going through and we're trying to find any place we can save everything from fuel costs, maintenance costs, insurances. The one cost that's very difficult to bring down is personnel, what you pay them per hour. That's a I have a great staff, and to say to them, well, you gotta take a pay cut. Sorry folks, I'm not doing that to them. They've worked very hard for it, they deserve it. But what we will, and I've already talked to my staff about doing, is in the fall, by mid-October, to run the numbers, talk to our agents, our insurance companies, anticipate what the fuel costs are going to be, which again, that's like darts. Anybody who runs a business understand that's one of those things that's, watch the oil prices every day, it makes no sense to me, and then present a letter to you saying this is what it will be next year, and you hold me to that. If I'm not able, to run keep it under that on my end, that's on me to absorb, not on the towns.
So I was just going to probably echo Joe's comment at this point. Being in business, there's so many things you can't control. And I think even $48 an hour, I think is what we're going for now, is probably pretty reasonable when you figure the cost of your vehicles and your overhead and your radios and your training. And so I certainly understand the increase. We see it in our business all the time. The other thing I wanted to follow up on a little bit was there was some discussion that you like to have a minimum of 8 hours a week in every town, and is this going to be an issue with us, or?
We are looking at it. I would say that Dummerston is not too bad, but I got some towns where it's like 1.6 hours a week is what they're looking for. And it becomes very difficult to manage that schedule because I lose so much time just in travel time because we don't start billing until we're actually in the town. And so if I have, let's say that they do 4 hours here, that's great. But then if I say, well, I now need you to go up to the town of Windham for one, and it takes them 45 minutes to get there and 45 minutes to get back, and I'm paying for that time, I've lost money. And so, and it's very difficult to keep, moving the schedule around. The towns that I have a minimum of 40 hours, and that deputy's just assigned to that town, and it makes it very easy. They're in that town more often than not, they've lived there, and it's very easy to manage. So we're looking at that. Is what benefit really are you looking for when we're only in town a couple of hours a week? It doesn't really give us time to know the people and try to resolve issues, because we do traffic enforcement in all the towns, but we're there, we're interacting with folks, and if we can keep things from happening, that's what we're looking at. For the smaller towns, what are they really looking to get? Folks, I'll tell you, I think Vermont's law enforcement is going to change in the next couple of years. I think There's a lot of discussion already occurring at the state level about how policing is going to occur in the state, and I think that at some point in the very near future, you're going to see the states and the towns have to pick up a portion of their own policing significantly. It's based on population, grand list. That I don't know, but I can tell you from my time in Montpelier over the last 3 to 4 years, and talking to local legislators, that is a discussion. It's a discussion that should have occurred 70 years ago when they created the state police. They never really identified who was going to be responsible for what and how it's going to be paid for. When you take town, like Rutland Town, the town itself does not have its own police department. It has a mall, has an airport, and that's being absorbed by the state police. They have a part-time constable. Town of Derby now is getting a super Walmart. It doesn't have its own police department. So the question is, how is that all going to be paid for? How is that going to be spread out? The state police, even here in this area, are stretched thin. And I give them a lot of credit. I talk to Lieutenant Faber regularly. We have a great working relationship now as compared to just a few years ago. And I don't know how he gets through the summer. People on vacation, and the turnover in staff. State police are looking at losing a third of their folks in the next couple of years due to retirements. And so, how do they cover 22 towns or whatever number of towns they have in the Brattleboro? And, they're looking at consolidating up in Westminster. If you've driven by with the super barracks is being built, and how is that going to impact their ability to cover those towns? It may work better because they'll be combined with Rockingham and economy of scale. But I think looking at how they're combining barracks is an indication where Vermont's going to go. Is that the state police are going to say, well, we just can't cover everything. We can do major crimes, we can do major highways, we can do major crashes, fatal accidents, but the towns are going to have to pick up a portion. And I'm just something just to be aware of. I truly believe it's coming. I used to say it wouldn't occur during my time in Vermont law enforcement, but I think I'll see it before my career is over.
By that, do you mean that the towns will be asked to pay for a portion of the state police's budget?
That I don't know. I don't know if they'll be asked to pay a portion of state budget. I don't know if they'll be asked if they're at a certain population, they have a certain number of contracted hours or create their own police department. If you take a town like Rutland that has a sizable population, they really should have their own police department. Whether it's towns regionalized and create a regional police department, that's already an option that's on the books. Many towns haven't yet adopted that concept, but it is an option. I think towns of Hardwick and Greensboro have combined to share funding and to manage it that way. I just, it's interesting that when the town's contract with, I had a conversation with a legislator from from Jericho. He was talking about that he had a contract, his town had a contract with the state police, and I said, well, you're welcome. He goes, oh, you live in Jericho too? And I said, no. He said, what are you thinking? I said, well, I live in Westminster, so I help pay for your contract. He says, because everything I do, every deputy I put on the road, every cruiser I put on the road, is paid for through the contracts. I have no base budget. I can't go to the county and say I need 3 new cruisers this year, but the state police have that, and so the local police departments have that base budget. And so when the troopers are out on overtime in a town under contract, it's subsidized by all of us. And the upside of contracting with them, from a certain perspective, is if they're in town here for 4 hours and the next day they can come back and follow up on things. I can only do that if I draw down their contract. That's the trade-off between the two. Almost sounds like I'm trying to sell their services to you, but I'll be honest, that's the difference. So I think that's a discussion that's going to, I can tell you it's already happened. Over the last couple of years, there have been bills introduced and some discussions already occurred, testimonies already occurred to look at how that's going to look.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, well, first of all, I'm Jerelyn Wilson.
How are you?
Nice to meet you. To follow up on Steve's question about hours, so do you have a minimum number of hours that you're looking at in terms of the future of what makes sense? We have 8, so do we want to be thinking about certainly not going any less than 8?
I wouldn't
That
go-
would compromise.
We don't have
Yeah, we have 18 and a half hours per month.
per month.
18 and a half per month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what the discussion was earlier with Keith in an article in the paper, I guess was where I picked it up, that he would like each town to do 8 hours a week. So, and we're only doing 4.5, I don't know.
3 to 5
Or whatever, yeah.
whether
So I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't gonna affect us in our future, was why I was bringing it
Well,
up.
if that's the direction we ultimately go, and again,
Yeah.
that's a discussion I'm having with my staff right now, is to say, what is best for not only my department financially, but best for the communities? 8 hours a week is, whether we're here one full 8-hour shift or we do 2 4-hour shifts, at least gives us a chance to spend some time in the town and know the people and know the issues, which is really important. Really, what are the, I can come and meet with your town clerk, I can meet with you and have someone say, well, we've got a speeding issue on this road, and we spent some time there, but it could be some other issues that aren't even being reported. But if we meet and know people, and I learned this a long time ago as a patrol officer, being out on the road and just talking with folks. That's how I learned what was going on and really where the issues were and how to best resolve those. And so that's what we're looking at. So not only does it makes it easier for us to manage the schedule, it protects us a little bit financially because less travel time to cover your contract. But we think it's going to give the towns potentially make better use of the money that you're spending on law enforcement. So all I would say, it is something that we are examining. And if we decide to go that way, when we send a letter in the fall, it would outline, what that would look like and what we're asking the towns to do. And then that would then at least open or start the discussion. I'm not going to come into you next fall and say, look, you absolutely have to do this, but this is the direction we'd like you to go. In a lot of towns that we're looking at this, they've been slowly increasing their budgets. They're starting to recognize there is a benefit of having a local person that they know that spends time in the towns. And that's really where it's come from. The towns where we've had people that are there 20 to 40 hours a week is where we're getting the best resolution, the best bang for the buck. And so that's what brought it up in my office when we started looking at the data and how things were working. Again, that's all the stuff that we're examining this summer before we say, this is, the other thing that the more hours, it's economy of scale, the lower the price point becomes, because and so that's potentially another way for us to save some money. So again, that article came at, and I will say I didn't read the article, people have told me what was in there, but it came out after I met with the town of Guilford over the same contract price increase that I sent to you. And and that's when I brought it up, say, look, we're looking at everything that my office does. We've been doing that from the day I started. We look at everything that we do. Some things that we were doing 8 years ago when I started, we don't do now. Made sense then, doesn't make sense now. Things that didn't make sense then might make sense now, and that's what we're looking at.
In casual discussion over the last few months, the sense that I have is that we probably would be increasing the hours, but it was just casual sense of the meeting. No hard numbers that we were thinking of. So, when we got this contract, we discussed, we budgeted, the town meeting had approved a certain amount. Would this mean we cut back hours to 16 and a half or find some other way? And the sense that I got, we'll vote on this later tonight, but the sense that I got was that we would find some, surplus to cover the increase. That's what we're hoping. We get, I'll bring up a lot of comments that we get are from residents who have a particular issue with speeding, You know, we have up on Wickeby Hill, we have Sugar House Road, we've got East-West Road, Middle Road. You know, my wife's chickens have an issue with speeders, but how do you think the best way to handle this? Is it, you know, do we have Steve call you each time someone's complaining, or do we leave it to your deputies who are cruising around town to find the best spots where they should be? What do you recommend we do?
Both. Have Steve either call me or drop me an email saying, I've got this complaint, and then I can direct the deputies. But then the deputies may come over and say, you know what, I spent an hour sitting over here, I didn't see one car. It doesn't make sense for me to stick here for another 3. And then we may come back to you and say, do you have a particular time of day? And sometimes what it is when we start talking, when we ask questions to the residents, it's a particular car. Mm-hmm. And then what we do is we can't sit there and target that individual. We won't do targeted enforcement.
Right.
We can do time enforcement and look at a stretch of road. But if it's an individual, we'll actually go to their home and talk to them and say, look, we've got these complaints, put some on notice. Mm-hmm. So that's why we often ask folks, do you have a description of the car? Do you have a plate number? Do you know who it is? And many times, and I can't give you a percentage, but anecdotally, many times that resolves the issue. We put them on notice, say, you know, we've got these complaints, we're watching for you. And not only us, but we'll let the state police know. So if they're in the area, and you're not gonna get a warning, because this is your warning that you need to slow down or drive in a more responsible manner. So it's both. You know, let us know what complaints you're getting, whether it's via email, you can leave me a phone message. I'll direct the deputies that are scheduled to come out here. If we have some grant time, your bills and your reports don't necessarily show all the grant time we do. We actually do quite a bit of grant time in the town of Dummerston. And that's another way that we try to get back to the towns. If we can find some grant money for doing traffic enforcement, we provide to the towns that we have contracts in. And so, but both. Let the the deputies are out and they're sitting on this side of the road, and I've had it happen to me. Hey, just let you know, tomorrow, you know, if you're over here on Middle Road, you're gonna, at these hours, you're likely to find someone speeding. Great. Or, hey, I just came off such and such road, there's a lot of people over there. If you go over there, you know, that presence may slow people down. So.
Well, we just got an email, in fact, from one of our concerned residents who's expressed concerns over the years, and I guess with some questions and some suggestions. And is there any reason why we shouldn't just give a copy of that email to Keith?
We can give him the whole file.
I memean, my concern is, if I can follow up with Joe, is there's a lot of concern with speed through the center right here and down over the hill on East-West Road. And as important as it is to control speed here in the center, I mean, I feel bad for the residents in the entire town. Everybody pays for the sheriff's contract, and I just don't want, I don't think it's fair to all the residents in town if the sheriff spends all their time in Dummerston Center. And you are here a lot. I mean, I see you here a lot. And it's a good thing, because it makes me slow down as I come up through. But and I think you probably ought to read the information, but I just want to be careful that we don't get the sheriff sitting here most of our contract when the rest of the town, you know, we had a break-in over on the, across from us on Carpenter Road, you know. I mean, it's important to have, I think, patrols all over the entire town. Sometimes that's...
No, I agree.
Your concerns are good, and probably we should give them the letter, but
No, I agree with you, Steve, and I would just ask the sheriff, you know, what has been your experience in that area that you know, when you have been there, and how much of your time do you spend there? And you know, I share your concerns. I wouldn't want you to spend a disproportionate amount of time there just because we have one resident who's expressed concerns. But you know, I think you should have a copy of that email.
But if you want, you can either forward it to me or you can.
I will.
Yep.
Print it out, and we'll take a look at it. And again, sometimes it's doing the actual radar enforcement. Sometimes it's taking some other steps that we can address.
Yep.
We've worked in a couple of towns with highway departments to talk about environmental change. Basically, you know, hey, trim back the brush on the side of the road so you can actually see the speed limit.
Yep.
You know, I've got one town I've been after for a couple of years to put speed limits up on a section of road where we get a lot of complaints, but the town won't put up the signs. I can't enforce it. We can do the basic rule.
yeah.
but that's 15 over what the actual speed limit is. So,
Right. This stretch of East-West Road, it's a little tricky because it's a steep hill, and then a flat, and then it goes down another steep hill and a sharp turn. And we've asked Matt Mann from Windham Regional to do a traffic survey and make recommendations. Should we be changing the speed limits or moving the signs this way or that way? So we hope to hear from him soon.
yeah, I mean, because they should be looking at not only doing a traffic count and what those speeds are, but they will also have access to crash data. You know, a lot of times, that's one of the things that we overlook is how many actual crashes occur. There are some towns, I think, that their speed limits are actually too low. And so when people are traveling at 35 or 40, it's actually the road can actually handle that traffic. And so, you know, it's, so if the road is capable of handling those kind of speeds, people are going to go those speeds. And if there's no crash data to indicate that that's an, you know, on a reasonable speed, maybe that's what the speed limit should actually be. And I'm not saying that for East-West Road.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's nice about having someone come in and gather all the information. What is the appropriate speed? And some, you know, the other part that comes with educating the public. And the people that complain about the speed is saying, you know, look, I've been out here, or the traffic data is, you know, you standing outside looking at a car going by, you're saying it's doing 45 or 50, but the data shows that no one's going above 30. And I've done that with folks. And I'm sitting in my car, say, how fast do you think that car's going? Well, that car's doing 50. And then I activate the radar and it's doing 32. I know it's, you know, so, you know, so I'm pleased to hear that the town of Dummerston is looking at all of it, not just the enforcement piece, because I think that's critical to keep examining, you know, what are you looking to do? Is, you know, East-West Road, it's residential, there's a lot of people close to the sides of the road, but it's not overly populated, it's not heavy residential. So are there sections that maybe the speed limit should be different? Changing the widths of the road, changing sight distances. Those are some of the things that, you know, Windham Regional can help you with, and the Vermont Local Roads Project at St. Michael's can help you with.
It's just a busy road. I mean, it's the way to get from east to west, and a lot of people aren't familiar with the road, and they're hurrying. Okay, I'm all set.
What's the name, Keith, that you mentioned, local roads?
It's the Vermont Local Roads Project. It was administered, or it was a grant program through St. Michael's College.
Yeah.
If you Google it, it'll come up. If you can't
We
find
have all
it,
the information.
Yeah.
it's a great resource. We use it. Occasionally towns will ask us to do speed surveys, and we use their information to do that.
Thanks.
I actually had an occasion to call the state police this morning. Jerelyn, you may know there were a couple of dead deer on the side of Route 30 on both sides of...
This morning?
On both sides of the West River Market, one on the west, one on that side, and one across the street.
I missed
south.
seeing a deer this morning. Luckily.
Yeah. And the state was working on the road, and I, you know, so I stopped and asked, and I pretty much knew the answer. Who do you report this to? And it's the, I guess, Fish and Game Warden deal with it. And if you look in the telephone book under state police, they actually, you know, tell you a number. I guess at the Brattleboro Barracks. But one of them had been there for a little while, so before it gets too nasty. I remember when I lived in Pennsylvania 40 years ago, they didn't clean them up. That was the policy, and you know,
Some states don't. I think New Jersey's also the same way.
Really?
Yeah, in certain roadways, highways, they won't.
Yeah.
Quite often now, they just pull them off the side of the road. Let the pedestrians work it.
Yeah.
Mother Nature does its thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. They don't go very far with them sometimes.
Yeah.
Any questions from public?
All set?
No?
Did Laurie have some
Yeah.
information?
Did you want the information
Sure.
on the fine revenue? For FY15, we received $9,146, which was $41.46 over what we had
Wow.
anticipated. So,
What was it over again, 4146? Oh,
yeah, we budgeted 5,000.
Almost paid the whole contract, didn't it?
Right.
Maybe we can increase that contract. I'm all set, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I really do appreciate the fact that you reached out to me and asked me to come in. A couple boards didn't do that. And so, but I think throughout the years that I've been the sheriff of this board, no matter who the board members have been, you've always been willing to reach out to me, ask me to come in. And I think that's worked out very well for both of us. Whether you're not happy or you're happy, or it's things like contracts, just call. I'm pretty good about calling back. Last I got a little.
You're very good about calling back, yeah, yeah.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So we got that business with the, the software straightened out, I think.
And that benefited not only Dummerston, but all our towns. It was the same glitch.
Yeah.
And that was very helpful. So again, that one I still talk about. I still don't understand the whole software issue,
Yeah.
but Mark fixed it and it's working. So.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Okay, so, under this item that we're still on, we do have the contract, and this is going to be an increase over what we passed at town meeting, but, when we talked about this at our previous meetings, we were thinking we might find a little, usually there's some savings and other items that we've budgeted that we have enough to cover this cost. So,
Well, certainly the surplus covers the cost, wouldn't it?
Well,
Or
it's,
not?
see, that's for the last year that just ended. We
Oh.
can't use that surplus
I
for
see.
this.
Until next year.
This would come out of the year as we go along,
Okay.
so. So we have a contract. What would you like to do?
I move we approve the contract as presented.
I would second it.
Okay, discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Nay.
Nay. Okay. So we have one nay and the rest. Right, where do we sign? Okay. All right. And we sort of, everyone got Mr. Virkstis' emails. We talked that we'll forward them on to the sheriff, if you could do that.
yes, I will.
Okay. Should we move on? Are we ready to move on?
I think
Okay.
Terry's patiently waiting to talk to us.
Okay.
He told me not to be here till
That's-
6:30, but I figured I'd come over and listen.
So, Terry Chapman, the chair of the cemetery committee.
Hi Carrie, I'm Jerelyn.
That's nice to meet
You
you.
know, yeah.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
We met before.
And got a handout that she brought in earlier.
Does everyone have them? They were in your inbox.
I have,
Yeah.
yep.
So it really is about more of the cemetery pricing. We decided to look back into it this year. After 6 years ago, we went through and figured out where our prices were comparatively to others. And we came up with, I talked to Dummerston Center, which is the private, town of Brattleboro and the town of Townsend, and it's quite apparent that we're much lower now than we were. We're definitely off. So the group of us kind of talked, and we were looking at probably the best thing to be doing is to do a rate increase. Because it's been since the late 70s.
Some things have gone up.
They have,
Yeah.
yes. So our recommendation is 4, 5, and 1. 400 for 1, 500 for 2, and 1,000 for 4.
Okay. You could give that to me one more time, please.
400 for 1,
All right.
500 for 2,
Okay.
and 1,000 for 4.
All right.
So it'd basically be doubling a 4.
Yeah.
You want to be in doubling the 1. Yep.
Well, a lot goes into this.
It's the perpetual care is
Yeah.
where it's getting you
Right.
guys. It really is. And this is the first year that I've actually sold this many lots. I've had one or two dabbling, 3 or 4, but never this many. And I think that's what started the whole process of selling that many up to Wilder at once.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, we really ought to look into this again. So, yeah, it's a lot of money. I mean, the mowing, I don't know I didn't look today what was in our our fund there,
The cemetery fund?
yeah, it's like 30 some odd thousand, I think,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so we've got some, but we've got other things, in the future coming up too. You've got Taft, that can be expanded.
Mhm.
We're working on, Wilder is slowly coming along, we'll have a workshop. And Bennett, we've had the volunteers, as I noted, over there working
Yeah.
steadily, so that's been wonderful. And we've got some nice anonymous donations of recent,
Right.
which has been
That's a
wonderful.
nice sign over at the Bennett Cemetery.
Is it like that? Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Have the other ones gone in yet? or-
Wilder, we figured out where that one was going, and I don't know where Lee has gone with the other
All
ones
right,
yet.
okay.
I haven't seen Baptist go up yet. So, but Taft is really the only other one besides Wilder now is where we can sell. And I kind of looked at the map today and I'm looking at I really would basically wouldn't think that there's gonna be more than 16 4-plot lots left on Taft. Because I would prefer to keep these two open and this line open until we really know what we're gonna do when we clean this out in terms of taking this driveway down. Are we gonna go around and come up into the new section? Or are we gonna forego this and make lots out of here and just stop this? You know what I mean? But you really can't, you really need an access point.
Mhm.
And I'd prefer to keep this open, that's closest to it for any backage, anybody backing around. So we really don't have that many available left in Taft. We're getting, especially if we go through a frenzy like we just did in Wilder, I could cut those in half quickly. So I think for future thought and more than, not 10 years down the road, but quicker than that, we're gonna have to figure out when we're gonna clean out Taft and how much expense that's gonna be to expand it.
Mhm.
Because there's just some that, they love Wilder, but then there's some that just wanna be on our, you know what I mean? So that's for the future to think about. I know what it cost us, I think it was about 3,000 to clean out Wilder. And this one's bigger,
Mhm.
so.
I guess I'm just a little confused. What's the difference between Town of Dummerston and Dummerston Center? And which ones are we talking about?
The Dummerston Center is the one right down over the hill, that's a
Yeah.
private.
I see, okay.
That is a private cemetery. Ours are Bennett over by the school.
Yep, okay.
Wild on Rice Farm, Taft on Route 30, Baptist in the village, and Dummerston Hill is it's on Cemetery Road, which is off of Sunset Lake on top of the hill.
Okay,
So we have 5.
okay, thank you.
Well, for the sake of discussion, I'll move that we change our lot prices to 400 for 1, 500 for 2, and 1,000 for 4.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, any discussion?
Is that enough?
It's never gonna be enough, Steve.
Right.
We could readdress this in another year or two. Perpetual care, you could look at 100 years out, no, it's not gonna be enough. $1,000 for 4 lots ain't gonna take care of it for 100 years. So that's the other problem with cemeteries.
Right.
It's never gonna be enough.
And once they're full, the maintenance is still there.
The maintenance is still there, the tree, and that's the other problem we're running into. Lee's working over on Bennett to get a couple, because you gave us the extra 1,000, so there's a couple trees that need to come out over there. And removal of trees is getting very expensive.
Yeah.
I thought we gave you an extra 500.
Was it 500?
I think you asked.
Do we have, well, whatever,
Oh, whatever.
it doesn't matter, we do have extra in there from the tree
Right.
removal at Wilder, so
Yeah.
with the logs, so
Okay.
there is no issue there.
Okay.
But anyway, there's two that need to come down in Bennett, that have to, or you're gonna start losing some of the oldest stones we got over there, there is an issue. So, that is the other problem we've got, is the tree removal. So the question is how much do you want to spend to get some of these trees out of there before it even goes up even further and the damage gets done? And we had things cleaned out, what, about 6 years ago, 7 years ago? They did a great job, but it's grown back and then everything's gotten bigger.
Yeah.
So, and that's the problem we're running into with thinking about Taft being in the near future, is it would be almost easier to get this thing done when it's closer to now and just mow a lawn than it would be to keep dealing with these trees, and some of them are big. So I mean, you can leave it as forest and we just, but we've had issues with trees coming down. We haven't had stone damage, but we were lucky.
Why not double the 2 lots?
You could.
What do you mean?
Well,
But-
you doubled the 1 lot, you doubled the 4 lot. So it would make,
You could do it, that's up to you. It really
is there
is.
a rationale for,
No, it just kind of, we just went along with it and,
I'd accept a friendly amendment, Gruver.
okay.
If Gruver would amend that,
yeah, I'll
Okay.
amend
I'd
that,
accept
so,
a friendly
Okay, so-
amendment.
All right, so 4, 6, and 1?
yeah.
Okay. So what it'll be is if anybody comes to me, I just sold 2 that were 6s, that would be $1,600. How we do it is, it would be a 4 lot plus a 2 lot, and it comes up to $1,600. Is what we charge. What we would charge if you passed it, that's how we do it. So,
So what might you anticipate in terms of the reaction or response to this? Is anybody gonna care or know, or is it gonna be a hardship for someone?
it could be. I mean, funerals aren't cheap. It depends on how you want to go about it. You can get 1 lot and do 2 cremations in it. So it's not like it'd have to be 600 to do 2 if you're gonna do a cremation. Looking at Brattleboro, I mean, if you take away the cornerstones, which are 200, they're asking 1,500 for 4 for Morningside.
So, I mean, we're not that far, I mean, we're the same as Dummerston Center.
Dummerston
the one
Center,
over
yes.
there, and, yep.
I mean, it is.
We're not out of line, probably.
No.
It's, some people think of it ahead of time and buy their lots early and get their headstone, save the money, and then some people, it's all in the person and whether they can deal with what this is all about. So, it's hard to judge. I mean, when they upped the prices in the 70s, it was, my husband's grandfather was on the board that did it. He gave a 3-month, I think it was about a 3-month waylay, and called everybody and said, do you like your town? And yes, well then how about if you buy a lot, because in 3 months we're upping the price, and he sold a massive amount of lots. Now if you want to do that, we can follow in the footsteps of Rick and give everybody notice and see how many we sell.
I think we want to raise more money.
Yeah, I think so too, but then he did sell off a lot, they didn't go up that much, I think it was just a couple hundred. Well, back then in the 70s was still a lot of money, but
Well, we had 2 people come in yesterday because they had heard through the grapevine that the prices were going up.
so we got those 2 in.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are people, those 2 that she was talking about were people I've been working with for about 3 years.
And that just tipped him over.
It tipped them over, 3 years I've been working with these 2, yes. So you can see, sometimes it's,
Well, so that brings up the question, will people be upset because they weren't notified that they were going up? I mean, is there any expectation, not requirement, but expectation that people would be notified that the prices are going up?
I mean, I would think it wouldn't be a bad idea to give like a month's notice.
Yeah.
You know, I asked you about prices because, you know, I went to Wilder when you were digging some graves, and to get a hands-on
Experience.
Yeah, and it's a pretty nice cemetery now. It's a nice addition, and it's coming along really well. But you explained to me how there are 4 people who, you know, from out of town who just bought plots, and I wondered, gee, it's a nice cemetery, but it
Yep.
seemed kind of small to me.
Yep.
That got me thinking about, you know, it's one of the nicer cemeteries around, really.
Yeah.
And could we have a run on
We did,
plots? Yeah.
yep,
So, and you can only sell them once.
that's the whole
That's the
thing,
whole
yes.
thing. And
But the
it's-
maintenance goes on.
Forever.
It's,
I mean, we're doing maintenance on 200-year-old graves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't ever, and they didn't probably buy anything back then,
Yeah,
they just,
right, yeah.
you know, they put it in.
Where they were, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we could do like Austria, every 10
Right,
years,
You dig them up.
you dig them up if you don't pay your tax. Yep, and they resell them.
Yeah, we'd
Yeah.
be really popular.
Yeah.
I might not make that much.
You're talking to to Townsend and Brattleboro, there's no restriction, even Dummerston
Yeah,
Center, those will
right.
sell to anybody. I mean, Townsend's so desperate to sell a lot, I mean, they haven't sold one in a while, so there are no restrictions, you have to be a town resident. Because then you get into genealogy, you know, and it's, I don't think anybody wants to research back 150 years and somebody did live here and, you know, so.
But Jerelyn, to your question, funerals, you're right, funerals have become very expensive, and this is a relatively, you know, small portion, you know, of your typical funeral. I'm actually spreading ashes of one of my clients tomorrow, and she, you know, was her cremains were delivered to me for $1,395,
Yeah.
and my plan was to just spread her wishes in a brook in Dover, East Dover, in accordance with her wishes, and I was just going to say goodbye, and my wife said, no.
No.
We need to have some words of remembrance, which are going to happen, but I think that, you know, folks on the very, very lowest end of the financial spectrum, they're probably not even buying lots, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Yep. And we do have that issue. We have a few that I connect with about once a year and ask them if they've buried their loved one, because they haven't, you know, they keep it on the mantle. And that is the only problem with cremations is the paperwork is done if you don't bury them. So if somebody's buried, if I take cremated remains and put them in a lot, I still have to come over to the town clerk and show them, put the paperwork in. If you don't do that and spread them in a brook, that's it. That's the end of the finality of the paperwork. So we lose a lot of genealogy that way by it.
So we've got a motion, there's been discussion, do we
And there was an
implement this
amendment, yeah.
immediately? I don't know if there was a,
Yeah, go down there.
Yeah,
No,
yes,
I
yes,
accept the
okay.
friendly amendment.
yes, okay.
Yeah.
And then discussion about does this take effect, you know, if we voted in favor of it, does it go into effect tomorrow, or do we have a grace period? And my inclination is to either leave it to the cemetery committee to decide, or to say, no, we,
Well, when does the
Need
next
to-
views come out?
the next views comes out probably September or something, end of August.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an opportunity to educate town people about the cemetery committee, and, you know, I mean, I have a lot of questions, sort of their bigger questions are not about this. It seems a courtesy to let people know that it's going up, and that's an opportunity also to share more information, but I mean, I'm amenable to, you know, what other people think is.
I'm leaning towards we could have a sale at this lower price, but then, you know, we're looking in perpetuity at this lower price.
I don't know that
I'd go.
we're looking to gain immediate revenue through some kind of sale. I would just like to see it go up.
I mean, the whole idea is we're concerned with our funds
Yeah.
taking care of these cemeteries for a long time. I don't know if we want to have a sale. Maybe,
Right.
Maybe we wait a few days or 10 days if there's somebody that's 90% through the process.
See, if those two came in, that's everybody off my list
Mhm.
that I've been working with.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes.
I don't know.
Right, you know, the lawn mowing goes up every year, the
Yeah, I mean,
cost of the trees.
I don't have any problem with
Okay.
raising the prices.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually spoke at the Wake Up to Die project a couple weeks ago, and people don't like to think about these things. You know, I guess I would leave the timing of the increase, you know, up to the committee. My inclination is, you know, to do it now. You know, I don't think that if it were a month from now, I don't think there would be a run on cemetery lots.
No.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation, since I've got everybody in that I've been working with over the
that
years.
sounds good, Karen.
Because I may not get another call on a cemetery lot for 2 years. I mean, who knows? I
Yeah.
didn't expect to go have this many burials this year either. I usually have 1 or 2, and there was a run on those too. So I mean, it all goes in cycles. Yep.
Okay, is there any further discussion? We've got the motion, seconded, friendly amendment. We're ready to go? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Terry.
Do you have any other questions that I
Well,
can?
is there a map of Dummerston that shows where the different cemeteries are and?
Yeah, we
We have that.
and then we have the maps of the cemeteries too that are in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And might you invite a tree person onto your committee?
That's up to you guys.
It'd be nice to get somebody who has a tree business on the committee.
We can't, you know, conscript them. But
No,
Yeah, I know.
but
I mean-
invite them, I mean, whatever.
It's nice having, it helps to have Lee on it for
Yeah, definitely.
just when something comes up, an emergency and stuff, but that's up to you guys. I mean, you make your committees and.
You can maybe move a couple people from the planning.
There you go.
Then the next thing you know is you got a problem because they're on the committee and they're doing the work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, then you got the
I
conflict
don't
of
know, that's a
interest.
good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
Well, we could certainly use an excavator or something.
It doesn't.
No, I don't think the Rodney would be appreciative of that either, but, okay.
Okay, thank you
Thanks,
for.
Karen.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks to all your committee members.
Yes.
No problem, I will pass that along. Thank you.
Great. Okay, well, let's see. Where are our bids for, highway report? Model of organization tonight. We've got some bids for.
Oh, I haven't signed.
Apparently she has one more.
Oh, okay, the bids are, brilliant. The York Rake is going to go on the front of the truck. We have one more that came in before the deadline. Who wants to open?
This one came by email.
Okay, here, I'll let you open that one.
Oh, jeez, yeah, thank you. Brown Reynolds is $3,900.
Okay. That's Brown, okay.
Pinnacle View equipment is $4,532.
Cool, okay.
And the HP Fairfield is $5,180 with quite a thick description. I don't know if they all contain the same description. Perhaps they do.
This one just has a number.
What Lee was hoping was that you would just open them tonight, and then he could take them and
Okay.
review them and
All right,
ask questions, and then bring it back to you in 2 weeks.
that'd be fine.
Sounds good.
Great.
You can check out the
Okay.
specs.
Yep.
Good.
They do say here that the list price is $45.76, but their quote is $39.
Okay. Front load rake,
It
hydraulic.
does say open the bids, it doesn't say to award the bids.
Yeah.
Right.
Great, okay, good. Anyone want to look at?
Yeah, let me just compare it real quick.
Yep.
See if we're saying the same thing.
So, let me investigate those. Under correspondence for information, we have the letters from Ines, McGillion, Captain Dianich, Gruver, and Dick Virkstis, with their thoughts on the proposed zoning bylaw changes. And then we have the zoning administrator's quarterly report, and notice from the Agency of Natural Resources regarding a proposed subdivision at 251 Leonard Road. Anything you want to discuss about that? The letter regarding zoning, that'll certainly be part of our consideration when we begin discussing the zoning bylaws. Anything else? Okay. Under correspondence for discussion and or action, my dance card is blank. So, unfinished business, we have the personnel policy review. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, I made a date with Laurie to go over some background information that's necessary for us to sort of take the next step.
Great, good, okay. Update on goals, anybody have anything?
Well, I had so just to remind us that we were going to each just take opportunities to talk to different committee members to see if an all boards meeting is something that people would look forward to doing.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to come from other boards, that this would be a meaningful gathering.
Yep. I did chat with Terry Chapman earlier, and she thought they'd prefer just coming to the board rather than an all boards meeting. So,
I talked to some DRB and PC members, and they're not interested in having an all boards meeting, but those few members, they're not speaking for the whole board.
yeah,
Right.
Just the members I spoke with.
I haven't had any conversations.
okay. Well, we'll
Yeah, keep chatting with people.
Yep.
Yep.
good. Want to do anything on the roads tour?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. How about I talk to Lee about it? See
Okay.
what works for him. Okay.
I like riding in the back of a car.
All right. And then we have the treasurer's report.
Which I don't, excuse me, I don't have a treasurer's report because we've been busy getting out tax
Yes.
bills this week.
Yep.
Just the preliminary and looking at the end of year, and this is just preliminary, it's not
Okay.
cast in stone.
Do you want us to turn the cameras
Yeah, would you
off?
please? I think the general fund surplus will be between $70,000 and $80,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that's due to a few things. One, the delinquent taxes that were collected were $105,000 and change.
Wow.
And plus we received a refund from the school district for over $42,000 in property taxes when the state did their final reconciliation. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Knock on wood.
Great. Good. Well, there's another liquor catering request from Windham Wines.
I'm going to recess the select board meeting and go into our, oh boy.
Liquor commission.
Liquor commission.
Yep. And I guess I could go have a beer while you guys do that.
Does anyone
Second.
have
Yeah, thank you,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Does anyone have that folder?
It's right here.
So
We should vote, we're gonna do this, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Maybe it's-
moved and seconded.
Okay.
green one?
All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Those opposed?
Oh, there's the wastewater system. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
It was a green one, it was just the other green one.
Okay. We have a proposal from Windham Wines for an event to be catered at the Scott Farm. It's a wedding reception scheduled for August 6th from 6:30 to 11 p.m. 90 people are expected. And I guess I would ask for a motion to approve this request.
So moved.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Then I guess I would move that we recess this meeting of the Liquor Commission and reconvene as a select board. And that is a motion. So we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Those opposed? Thank you.
Great. So, is there any other business?
I have one thing. I received an email from the office manager at Grace Cottage Hospital regarding their FY16 appropriation, asking for it to be released now. They're saying they want to buy an emergency room scale right away. I emailed her back and said that normally we send out appropriations after the first tax collection date, which would be August 20th. But that it's up to you as a select board whether we make an exception. It's not Pam's and my decision, so I'm throwing it out there.
and was there an amount?
It's,
325?
yeah. I mean, I think every organization probably has a very good argument for asking for their funds to
Right.
be released immediately after July
Yeah.
1st. But we also have to consider our cash flow.
Yeah, I'd like to wait until you begin to get the tax bills have gone out and you're beginning to get tax revenue back.
Yeah, I always hate to set precedences and then,
Well, that's what I was concerned about too. So,
do we need a motion to that effect then?
Yes. I'll move.
Well, I guess it would die for lack of a motion, right?
Mhm.
They can call me, I got
So
my
when I
check, I have
respond
my
to-
checkbook at home.
so when I respond to her tomorrow, how do you want me to say this? They chose to take no action on your request?
Right, and
Okay,
the check will go out.
on the 20th?
Tradition has it, they go out the 20th.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other business? Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There was one of these you hadn't signed or two, did you sign those?
Yeah, I did sign.